Let's see what's happening in the backyard today.
There's a lot happening outside that's easy to miss. Bees move from flower to flower, tadpoles swim through shallow water, insects hide on leaves, birds build nests, clouds change overhead. Mushrooms seem to appear after wet weather. Dew collects on plants, spiders build webs, and tiny insects can walk across the surface of water. You could look at all of this and simply think, nature. Or you could start asking questions. Why are the bees visiting some flowers more than others? Why did mushrooms appear in that spot? How can a water strider stand on water without sinking? Scientists begin in exactly the same place. They notice things. Science doesn't begin with knowing the answer. It begins by paying attention carefully enough to realize there's a question. Look at this leaf. What can we actually observe? There are clear droplets on the surface. The leaf is green. Several droplets are clustered near the edge. Those are observations. An observation is information you directly gather with your senses or with a scientific tool. Now suppose I say it rained last night. That could be true, but I didn't observe rain falling. I saw water droplets and used that evidence to make an explanation. That's an inference. An inference is an explanation based on observations and evidence. Dew could have formed overnight even if it never rained. The difference matters. Scientists don't treat a reasonable explanation as though it were something they directly observed. Here's another example. In the mud, we can observe several hoof-shaped tracks. We can observe their size, their direction, their spacing, maybe even how deep they are. But if I say, a deer walked through here this morning, part of that statement is an inference. The tracks are evidence that an animal passed through. Their shape may strongly suggest a deer, but the tracks don't come with any timestamp saying 7:42 this morning. Scientists separate the evidence from the explanation. Now look at the ants. We can observe that many ants are moving along the same path. We can count them. We can record which direction they're traveling. We may notice that some ants are carrying bits of food. But if I say the ants know exactly where they're going because one of them is the leader, that's an inference, and possibly a very bad one. Scientists can make inferences. They just need evidence to support them. Let's see what's in the garden this morning. We've got our tomato plants here, and they're doing well. We've got lots and lots of blossoms, several green tomatoes, a big cluster right here, and we've got some red ripe tomatoes. And overall, the plant's doing pretty well. There's a few yellow leaves down lower, and some things are getting overgrown. Here's a pepper plant that I found, and you can see that it is really getting eaten up. This leaf is almost completely gone. There are several other leaves that have holes in them, and it just looks like something has happened to it. So we need to use our science skills and figure out what happened. Let's look for some evidence. Near the damaged plant, we find something small and dark on the leaves. Looks like caterpillar droppings. That's one clue. On a nearby tomato plant, we found a caterpillar. After searching the plant, we found 5 caterpillars and collected them all. The original inference was that something was eating the plant. At first, it was just one explanation, but now we have more evidence that supports it. Let's look at these tracks again. There are 2 hoof-shaped prints in the mud. That's an observation. A deer came through here. That's an inference. The animal was running. That's also an inference, unless we can measure the spacing, depth, or find some other evidence to support it. Good scientists notice when their brain quietly adds information that isn't actually in front of them. Ants again. 23 ants crossed this spot in 1 minute. That's an observation, and now it's quantitative because we measured it. The ants are traveling toward a food source. That's an inference. To test that explanation, we would need to follow the trail or collect more evidence. Last one, let's look at something new. You see an orange-brown coating on a metal garden tool. That's an observation. You might infer that the metal has been exposed to water and oxygen and is rusting. Again, the explanation comes from what we know plus what we observe. Observation first, inference second. Evidence isn't always something dramatic like finding 5 caterpillars. Scientists collect evidence in many different ways. They measure, they count, they compare, they photograph. They often describe the color, shape, position, or condition. You could measure the height of a plant or count the number of peppers and blossoms. Compare the amount of leaf damage, or notice something unusual, like this crooked pepper, and record exactly what you see. Some observations are qualitative. They describe qualities such as shape, color, texture, or behavior. Others are quantitative. They use numbers or measurements. The pepper plant is curved is qualitative. The pepper is 8 centimeters long is quantitative. Scientists often use both because different kinds of evidence reveal different parts of the story. Observations often lead to questions, but scientists don't answer every question the same way. Look at these blueberry plants. They don't look healthy. We could ask, what diseases commonly affect blueberry plants? That's probably a research question. We could use books, trusted websites, field guides, or experts to find information that scientists have already discovered. But we could also ask, is the soil pH correct for these blueberry plants? That's a testable question. We could collect soil and design an investigation. Now, look at these patches in the grass. A research question might be, what organisms commonly cause circular spots in lawns? A testable question might be, how much sunlight is this area of grass receiving? Or what other conditions exist in this yard that might contribute to the spots? And let's look at these bees. We could ask, how do bees locate flowers? That's a research question. If we wanted a testable question, we could say, do bees visit one flower color more often than another? There's a difference. A research question is answered by finding reliable information that already exists. A testable question can be answered by collecting your own data in an investigation. Scientists use both. Research often helps scientists decide what they should test next. Thinking like a scientist doesn't require a laboratory. It starts with something much simpler. Look closely. Separate what you observe from what you infer. Collect evidence. Measure when you can. Ask questions. Decide whether those questions require research or an investigation. And most importantly, be willing to change your explanation when the evidence changes. The world is full of small mysteries. A damaged plant, tracks in the mud, an unusual patch of grass, a bee choosing one flower instead of another. You don't need to know the answer before you begin. You need to know how to look for it. That's how scientists think.
If you like what you've seen today, please like and subscribe.